Once upon a time, there was a woman who told tales for 1,001 nights and saved lives with the power of her stories to keep Sheherazade's magic alive. Tonight, let's tell one more. This is The Guardian of the Sanctuary, Chapter 2. And the magic just got louder. 16 years had passed. The sanctuary still thrived in secret, but tonight the world was watching something else. Far from waterfalls, beneath the sweeping rooftops of the grand palace, the most lavish ball of the sanctuary unfolded like a conjured dream. Music soared, dresses sparkled, chandeliers gleamed as though starlight had been poured into glass. And of course, there was gossip. So much gossip. A crowd of elegant magi swirled across the ballroom floor, robes fluttering, glances flashing, brows raising. And somewhere near the golden fountain of fortune, which occasionally whispered people's secrets aloud, purely by accident, a familiar voice rang out. "Ah, my eternal fiancée graces us with her presence." Dressed in velvet and pride stood Varlam, tall, theatrical, and still clinging to an engagement contract that had outlived 3 fashion trends and 1 small kingdom. A nearby girl raised her eyebrows. Still betrothed after all these years? 19 years and counting. Varlam replied with a dramatic bow. Another chuckled behind her fan. "Quite a drawn-out affair, don't you think?" "Oh, it's all about anticipation," said Chatterley, whose dress shimmered brighter whenever things got awkward. "Much like its wearer." Mila smiled politely. "It will last as long as it needs to." She turned to Varlam, voice softening. "I still owe my life to you." Varlam looked touched. Or smug. Possibly both. Elsewhere in the ballroom, the energy shifted. The music faded. Laughter fell to whispers. Even the chandeliers dimmed, as if awaiting something important. A hush spread through the sea of guests. At the center of the ballroom stretched a vast, circular platform, not just a stage, but an intricately carved map of the world itself. Rivers shimmered in silver, mountains glinted in gold, borders pulsed faintly, alive with light of magic. And now, 8 young women rose like goddess statues on the map, each perfectly anchored in her homeland. High above them, among the anticipating crowd, stood a striking young man. Will. 18 now, nearly as tall as Irinarch, his gaze that could still be boyishly charming 1 second, and devastatingly charming the next. He was observing the beauty contest beside his parents with a blend of amusement and curiosity. And then, a single spotlight snapped on above, slicing through the dark and painting a circle over the heart of the stage. A booming voice echoed across the room. "And now, for our grand finale!" All eyes turned to the circular map below, where 8 radiant women stood in formation, each one claiming her territory with the quiet certainty of someone born to represent it. Their dresses shimmered with colors that weren't just fabric, but also magic. Glowing energy rippled around them, matching the hues they wore. Their eyes sparkled with the quiet fire of their inner power. Then, from the center of the room, The host's voice rang out, rich, resonant, and infused with so much presence it felt like a force of nature in itself. These enchanting participants will now demonstrate their magical allure, attempting to captivate the heart of the world's fairest judge. Gasps, murmurs. Someone in the back whispered, "Wait, who is the fairest judge?" Another voice offered solemnly, "The embodiment of balance." Someone else, scanning the crowd, added, "So pure, he must be glowing." It wasn't clear if he was joking or hoping. A young mage, whose shining belt pulsed off rhythm with the music, leaned in and whispered, "Maybe he floats." His friends, all equally over-accessorized, nodded in unison. "Behold," the host declared, "the most harmonious mage, the guardian of the sanctuary, straight from the core of the world." A spotlight exploded around Will. He froze. One foot twitched like it considered escape. Irinar leaned in and gave him a firm push. Will stumbled forward. "Observe his perfection!" the host bellowed. "Oh no," Will muttered. He descended the stairs with all the grace of someone trying very hard not to trip in front of 8 most beautiful women and the entire magical elite of the world. He stepped into the glowing center of the world map, now surrounded by women who had been trained since birth in the art of subtle enchantment and dramatic glances. The lights were blinding. The beauty wasn't helping. Will already couldn't see a thing, and then someone tied a blindfold over his eyes, just in case. "And now," the host said, spinning him like a wheel of fate, "let the choosing begin." The young women began to move. Not dance exactly, but circle, gesture, shimmer. Soft energy and enchanting scents filled the air. One girl played a harp that wasn't there. Another, from the land of living nature, moved with quiet grace, leaves and blossoms fluttering from her sleeves like secrets carried on the wind. A third simply locked her gaze and didn't blink once. Will, blindfolded and dizzy, swayed slightly. And then he moved. Drawn by something, heat maybe, or presence, he took a careful step forward towards the warmest glow in the room, literally and otherwise. Hannah's magic radiated from her like sunlight about to catch fire, wrapped in a dress of deep, burning red. Will reached out and steadied himself, his hand brushing her shoulder, then the curve of her curls, and finally her magnificent unibrow. "And now," cried the host, "the highlight of the evening, the kiss." Mila clasped her hands together. "A simple kiss on the forehead," she whispered. "That's all." "You've got this, son," said Irinar, his tone pure battlefield command. Will reached up to remove the blindfold. It slipped straight into Hannah's décolleté. He yelped softly, flickered it away as if it had stung him. "He's adorable," whispered someone. Hannah stood proud, her unibrow arched like a crown she's worn all her life. And tonight, nothing would stop her from claiming the real one. She cupped his face in both hands and kissed him, deeply, passionately, unforgettably. "That's my girl," shouted Rosalia, clearly her mother, not just by resemblance, but by the sheer force of personality radiating from across the room. Applause, music. Moments later, The real crown was placed on Hannah's head, shimmering red and gold. "And with that kiss," cried the host, "the magic of passion triumphs!" The crowd erupted in cheers. Sparks shot into the air, and fire curled at Hannah's feet like a victory dance. Smoke poured out of nowhere. Someone started coughing. Someone else passed out. But Will and Hannah had already begun to dance, stealing all the attention. And not just dance, tango. Their bodies guided by a rhythm deeper than music. Magi in the crowd held their breath. The chandeliers dimmed, but it was Will and Hannah who glowed. Now, led by Will, they did not only impress, they inspired. "So, you're the guardian of the sanctuary," Hannah said, her voice a blend of curiosity and confidence. "I've always wanted to see it." Will smiled. "I'll be happy to show it to you." "Really?" Her unibrow lifted like a hopeful hawk. "Tell me everything about your sanctuary." As the music built to a crescendo, Will executed an exciting move that became the highlight of their performance. Holding Hannah's hand firmly, he pulled her to a tight, dramatic spin. They turned once, twice. The world seemed to spiral around them, and at the exact peak of the music, they stopped. Locked in place, poised and breathless, a moment of stillness more powerful than motion. Gasps rippled through the crowd, then applause, loud, astonished, rising like fire. And for the first time all evening, Will looked like he was actually having fun. This was chapter 2. Dream well, wherever the magic finds you.